Only a few though, Chris. I mean, we're talking maybe 1 or 2 less. No, I'm just kidding. There's quite a few less actually, which I'm really appreciating. And we're continuing on our Scottish journey today. We've left behind the shores of Loch Lomond and Seine, and we're in Argaty, a fantastic rewilding estate and working farm. It's so impressive what they're doing here. It's been going on for 100 years with 6 generations looking after 1,400 acres, and it really is teeming with wildlife. Everything from woodpeckers to nuthatches, making the most of the larder that's provided for them, iconic red squirrels of course, making the most of all the food they can find at this time of the year, caching away for winter. And the ones at Argaty are actually quite confident. But there is also a secretive mammal lurking in the watery spaces, and we're going to be diving into their biology in tomorrow's show. But perhaps what Argaty is most known for, what really is at its heart, are red kites. Red kites have got to be some of the most glamorous, beautiful birds of prey that we have in the UK. And sadly, they weren't always a familiar sight. It's reported that in 1870, they went extinct across Scotland, England and Ireland, although there was a small population in Wales, due to persecution. We really did miss them, so thanks to amazing conservation efforts by absolute heroes like Roy Dennis, reintroduction started. The first one between 1989 and 1994, red kites from Sweden were brought into the Black Isle, and then in 1996 to 2001 they were brought in to Doon, which is right round the corner from Argaty, and it was thought that about 100 birds were brought in at that time, and fast forward to now, there's between 300 and 350 red kites nesting in Scotland, which is just a fantastic success. Now we're here by the feeding station with Steve, our wildlife long lens camera operator, hoping to get a shot of a red kite live for you. Come on, Steve. Have we got one? I see there might be. There we go. Beautiful red kite showing us how they soar so expertly through the sky. I'm so excited when a plan comes together and we get live animals. Looking beautiful, looking down if there's any carrion that it can perhaps go and get. Now, of course, here at Argaty, it's a massive team effort, which is why I'm so excited to be joined by Lynn today, who works on the farm with her family. Hello, Lynn.
Hello.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to be able to see the red kites here, but it must have been quite a moment for you when you saw them for the first time.
It was amazing. Actually, it's rather embarrassing to admit now that I didn't know what they were.
You wouldn't?
No, but because there weren't any, but they were absolutely beautiful and so athletic. I mean, what a moment.
Yeah, a really exciting moment in history. And of course, you've set up the feeding station. What was the motivation for that?
Well, the kites had chosen us, but we soon realised that it was a very fragile situation. That first year, there were 20 baby birds released. And they were so rare that the bird watchers wanted to see them. And so it was a management problem. How do you protect the birds but let people see them and learn about them? And so we put in a very simple infrastructure. We put in the hide, we put in the car park, and started welcoming people onto the farm and telling them about the kites. And that was the start of it.
But it's a great way, isn't it, for people to connect with nature and also come and see them without causing disturbance, and you're kind of in control of that then?
Well, I suppose you are, but it also gives us a chance to really dispel some of the myths about the kites, which I think is really important.
Yeah, totally agree. And I guess because a lot of the same kites come down to feed every single day, are there any characters that you can pick out and get to know?
Yes, I think S3 and S4.
Right.
From their wing tags, so S3 and S4, these were chicks that were in a nest that we got a camera on, and we'd watched the eggs being laid, we'd watched them hatch, and then there was a spring storm, and all the trees round that nest tree fell.
Oh God, except that one nest tree?
Except for that one nest tree.
That's so
and we
lucky.
didn't know till the next morning because the power had failed, so the camera had gone off. That nest survived. S4 actually fell out of the nest and had to be rescued.
Oh gosh.
But they're both still here. You know, 2011 they were hatched and they're still here and they're still causing trouble.
They're cheeky, they're bold.
They're cheeky.
I love
bold,
a cheeky
yeah,
bird, it's great.
Yeah.
But of course, there's so many other wildlife that makes their home here. It's not just the red kites, is it? It's so much.
No, it isn't. I mean, we've done a lot of work putting up nest boxes for barn owls and kestrels, and that's been really successful. We've got a goshawk,
Okay.
though we don't see it very often. And of course the red squirrels that you mentioned. Plus, I think 100 different birds have been recorded on Argaty.
Well, that's a huge testament, isn't it? That
Isn't it?
farming and nature are one and the same thing, and they both can support each other.
You can do it. You can do
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you for
Lynn.
coming.
God, thank you brilliantly. Oh gosh, Lynn Bowser, amazing conservation effort going on here at Argaty. Now you can see the red kite hide behind me, where lots of people can come and see the red kites for themselves, and lots of people do. Sometimes as you're driving down the motorway, you see red kites, and that's because they're often attracted to roadkill. Because when we think of the diet of a red kite, we often consider them to be scavengers. We think that they are. Oh, I think do we have a live red kite right now? I'm not sure we do. Okay, so oh no, I thought we had them. That's okay. So essentially we think of these animals as scavengers. They come down to collect carrion, they come down to roadsides, but they can be really impressive hunters in their own right, given the opportunity and the need. They can take small birds, they can take small mammals, but remarkably, Jeff Harris captured these amazing photographs of them taking, well, fish. Now, I have never expected a red kite to take fish like this, but they have been seen to do it, and they think that obviously, whilst they're not specialised like an osprey at catching fish, they're able to find the ones that are perhaps dead or dying, not doing very well, that float to the surface, and at that point they pinpoint them, scoop down and get a bit of an easy meal. But some fantastic photos there from Jeff. But to really appreciate red kites, you have to see them as masters of the air, up in the sky where they belong, because their manoeuvrability is fascinating. Now, as with most birds, it's the wings which provide the lift. It keeps the body weight of the animal up in the air, and it's the tail that acts like a rudder, doing the direction, going up or going down. And it's always fascinating to see. And red kites are quite specialist in the fact that they're low and slow soaring animals. And they often interact with each other, they come to similar feeding sites, so they have to be incredibly flexible with how they move, moving their wings, making sure that they don't come crashing to the ground where they come and grab bits of carrion. They have to move quite quickly to get out of the way of one another, especially roadkill, of course, that could be quite dangerous for them. So they have particular ways of doing it, and it's all to do with their tail. So watch this and really, really look at the detail of how that tail moves throughout the air in turbulent conditions, even in wind. So they have the ability to expand their tail, and this is when they're at slow speeds. They can widen their tail and they tilt it downward for added lift. Imagine you've got your coat in the wind, but let's look back a little bit at them doing this. You can see it expanding, but you can also see it contracting, and they do this when they want to speed up. They can thin their tail out, it reduces the drag, they tilt the tail up, and it gives them that lift that they need. I find this just remarkable. The science, the ability to understand how these animals move is just brilliant. But in order to understand it and appreciate it fully, we have to compare it to the tail of another. So here I've got my tail of the red kite compared to the buzzard, and the line here illustrates the main triangle, the maximal span width, these triangles, and this helps the wings with the lift, and anything below this red line helps the animal with drag, slowing down or speeding up in direction. Now the buzzard has a greater surface area, as you can see, than the red kite, which just has these two forks. This means that it has more flexibility, more control, as these forks can slice through the air, giving them a greater breadth of manoeuvrability when they really need it. And you can really see it when they're soaring. The red kites have the ability to stop flapping their wings when they're soaring and just use their tail. You can see it there. It's remarkable. So when you're looking at a red kite again in the sky, you'll be thinking about how they're using that tail, making those really precise decisions.